Can have to offer. So what we want to achieve today as Success Benchmark today is really to see how you as an individual representing your company can go back to strategize and begin to come up with different trends that are in the industry that will help you with value innovative offerings. So the speakers that are lined up today are people who have done it before at different platforms in their own country and in their businesses. So we need to learn from them and see how they did it, how they went about it, and then help us strategize in coming up with what we can do. So from the regulatory perspective, we have the central bank who will be sharing with us what is applicable and how far we can go, and what is the vision of the central bank for mobile money and mobile technology. And then we have Mr. Bolaji Akimboro, who is representing the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, who's cannot be here for some national reasons that are more important to the economy. Mr. Bolaji Akimboro works with Cellulant, and Cellulant is the one in charge of the e-wallet for the farmers initiative that is being handled by the federal government. So he will be talking from the technical perspective and also shed more light on what the government has done so far and where the government is going. And I think, according to what the minister also said, that he's in a better position to even talk to us about what the government has to do and how you as an operator can tap into that opportunity to see what can inform your value innovative offering. So we are saying that today we want to learn and to be up to date on industry development. We want to see how we can express and discover innovative products and new service offerings. This is what we want to achieve today at the Mobile Money Nigeria Conference, and it's my pleasure on behalf of this brand International Limited to welcome you all to this August occasion. And I believe that at the end of the day, we all will be happy. It will be mutually beneficial and mutually rewarding to see how we can begin to offer these services to people in the light of all that we would have learned so far. Thank you so much for listening.
European farmers are borrowing at single-digit interest rates. Then in Nigeria, we want our farmers to borrow at double-digit interest rates, and we want them to succeed. They're not going to succeed. We're deceiving ourselves. So government has to make a decision that we're going to fix financing for agriculture. And courtesy of the efforts of the Honorable Governor of the Central Bank, his team at the NISA, government put in place a financing vehicle for agriculture, the Nigeria Incentive Risk Sharing System. And the idea was this, that if you're an actor in agriculture, you should be able to access funds that are guaranteed by the government with collateral items that are innovative, not necessarily the usual collateral that people understand. And if you're accredited, you should be able to access funding. And that system was extremely very important. As I speak today, as of yesterday morning, about 17 billion naira worth of lending has gone to the agriculture sector. And this lending has gone to various kind of actors. But the most important actors are the agri-dealers, which are really young Nigerians, middle-aged Nigerians, who are trying to make a honest living. And some of these people that are access the funding, they are quite glad. So unlike last year, this year the lending program is working. It's not perfect, but it's working. So government has to fix financing, to put in a framework for Nigerian farmers and other actors in the agriculture sector to access financing. So this was very important, because the minute you make money available, you begin to make other things happen at the same time. The second thing was the supply chain for high quality goods. And you know what happened? Because historically, if government was a buyer, nobody was interested in building a supply chain. Everybody just dumps the products in government warehouses and they say, hello, bye, that's all. Whether those things were given to farmers, the contractors or the supplier didn't care. Whether they were used, nobody really cared, because their job stopped when they delivered at the warehouse. So when government made a policy change in direction, when that changed, the supply chain had to be rebuilt from scratch. And that was a tremendous amount of work. We're a technology company, we're not a supply chain management company. But for our technology to work, input must get to farmers. Like the director of banking and payment said, that our strategy at Cellular was to focus on the agriculture vertical. And so last year it meant that I'll be jobless if I didn't help government fix the supply chain. I now have to leave part of my work as a mobile money operator and now do fertilizer and seed supply chain management. Now this was a lot of work, but it did something good. It allowed the establishment of a nationwide agent network that people trust and people know. Because until you attempt to do something across the totality of Nigeria, you never really get an understanding of how large this country is. This country is large. This country is large. There are slightly above 9,000 wards. There are more than 96,000 villages. And if you want to run a program to get input to farmers using technology across this country, those things, they go together. The supply chain and the technology, they work hand in hand. Because the farmer has to know where to go and use his e-wallet credit. It's got to go somewhere. And it's got to go to the closest place. So that was fixed last year. And this year, it's even much better. Because there are professional supply chain management companies now who are handling that responsibility. And then third, government has to face the issue of transparency and accountability. And this was where the e-wallet system came in, which is that government will no longer buy fertilizer and seeds. Government will not issue any contract to anybody any longer. But that money that was going to contracts will be given to farmers through their e-wallets, meaning through their mobile phone. And our colleagues at the Central Bank of Nigeria really assisted tremendously in expressing to us these KYC requirements and making sure that we understood it properly before the program kicked off. That the basic KYC requirement that is required at this point in time is the name and the telephone number. So that saved a lot of headache. It allowed the program to get off the ground. So government had to say that's how farmers are going to get their input. So for the last year program, 4.5 million e-wallets were created for farmers across the country. For this year's program, in 2013 program, 8.6 million wallets were created for farmers. And I'll speak about some of the challenges later on. But the whole idea was that a farmer received a credit from the federal government of Nigeria, and state governments are contributing too. So a bag of fertilizer typically costs 5,500 naira. Federal government contributes 1,370. State government contributes 1,370. Farmer brings his contribution of 2,750. So that's the cost sharing arrangement. And the only contribution the farmer receives on his wallet is the contribution of the federal and state government. But he doesn't just receive that contribution alone. He has to receive his mapping information. Which agro-dealer is he supposed to go to? When is he supposed to go there? What is he supposed to do when he goes there? And for the benefit of our peer companies that are here, the mobile money operators, so that we can save them the learning curve and they can share some of the investment on the federal government of Nigeria. Because some of the things we learned, in our view as Cellular, they are public good. they belong to Nigeria as a country. It doesn't mean that we are competing. One of the insights that we found out last year was the issue of language, the linguistic diversity in this country. The issue of language is extremely important to service delivery. And 45% of all wallet messages and transactions took place in Hausa. So this is a very, very important insight. So, contrary to the thinking that the money is in Lagos, it's not true. It's not true. We found out the hard way. It's not true. When it comes to the mobile money business,
outbound calls, and they engage your product, you get to sit back and have all the lunch you want. Because they're pushing your own product within their own portfolio. That's why Airtel chose us for this, because they see that they want to lead and they want us to support on concepts, ideas, and pricing and systems. So they're going to push it, but they need support on how to actually deliver. Whereas I think what traditional insurers have been doing is saying, we've got great products, if only we can push them through MTN. We've got great products, if only we can push them through Glo. And we'll give Glo a 35% commission. Well, I'm sorry, but Glo makes a lot more money, you know, than just a 35% cut of an insurance product. And so we've got to build different business models to get that done. So how do we do this? I'll talk a bit about what we've done in MicroInsure. And I hope now that I've caused some challenges in the room, that I'll show you that it's actually not that difficult. Because we have a team of about 35 people in Africa. We work in 9 countries across the continent, and we only have about 5 managers on the continent. But we grew over the last 24 months from 100,000 clients to 3 million clients. So we're the fastest growing organization in insurance on the continent in that period. And we did it by these new concepts, not by just working harder. We still have plenty of lunch and play golf as well. But we've had some innovation. Let's see, what's relevant here? We've been named one of Africa's most 20 innovative companies. We've been named one of 5 development innovations to watch this year. But I think really this investors line is interesting. Our investors are 4 very diverse organizations. One's the IFC, one is the Omidyar Network, and Omidyar is the guy who founded eBay. His name's Pierre Omidyar. So his expertise and his company's expertise is in growing millions of retail transactions. So they invested in us. Third is Telenor, who's one of the top 10 telcos by size. They're based out of Norway, but they work across Asia. And then fourth is the Opportunity International Network, which is a microfinance network. So you've got the IFC, a retail organization, a telecom, and a microfinance channel investing in this concept because they see the potential. It's not insurers investing in this, it's really distribution organizations. And then on the 15th, just a week ago, we announced this unprecedented partnership with Airtel. We've got a number of partners on the mobile banking insurance side. Happy to discuss those later on with you. Our business model is really to start with what David talked about, which is human-centered design. And I think actually one of the takeaways for those insurers in this room is that you need to hire people who are experts in human-centered design. Too many actuaries run our companies. We say, oh, well, we deal in risk, so we've got to have the actuaries lead the conversation. So this is the price they say, these are the terms and conditions, this is, their job is to evaluate risk, but you've got to have the other side of the equation. How do we get this to millions of people? And if actuaries are the only ones driving that conversation, we're not going to get there. On the back office, we've really found that we have to reinvent the structure of products, pricing, processes. I was talking with some friends from Leadway at lunch and explaining that we often accept handwritten letters from imams in rural contexts. That's the only proof that anyone has that someone's actually died. Now, when you get the 3rd or 4th letter from that same imam in the same village, you start to ask some questions. But if you don't accept the first one, you don't get to do business in that village. So really building the whole thing based on what that person in this rural village deals with, how they see risk, what processes are available to them, what can we actually do to connect with these clients. You can't afford to send an agent out to that village. They can't come and get a death certificate. You've got to be very creative and think about different ways to do that. Now I'll talk briefly about our M-Health model, which we run in Tanzania, in the Philippines, and in India. And David mentioned quite a few things about M-Health this morning, so I won't spend much time on that. But we really believe that the goal isn't
lends itself very well to a lot of the mobile money activity that's happening. And what I'm going to do with this presentation is try and explain to you what's happening in M-Health. And then in places where it makes sense, try and show the linkages between financing and particularly mobile money and insurance with mHealth. So a lot of this will be more about what's happening in mHealth on the continent. And I know we've been given an hour. I want to try and make this as interactive as possible. I know there are questions after, but if there are really burning questions, please feel free to ask. There we go. So I like to start with definitions. Basically, there've been there are actually quite a number of definitions for mHealth, but everybody generally tends to agree that mHealth is trying to use mobile phones to provide public health care. And most people agree that mHealth is a subset of eHealth. How many of you are familiar with eHealth, electronic health systems, in any way or shape? Okay, some of you are here. Basically, that's any information system, or if you're taking biometric data, if you're keeping patient record systems, all of that falls under eHealth. There's a lot of contention about whether mHealth falls under that, because there are a lot of mHealth extremists who feel like mHealth is the solution, particularly for low resource settings like places in Africa, countries in Africa. But the general majority of people believe that it is a subset of eHealth. So throughout my talk, what I'm going to try and do to kind of orient you towards mHealth is to try and give you what I'm calling tips, or golden tips. And these are key for any time you want to engage any mHealth initiative. It's key to have this in mind, or in the back of your mind, because these are keys that have tips that have come out with from a lot of lessons, a lot of trial and error. Whatever you think the definition of mHealth is, the key thing to remember is it's an ecosystem game. You never take a mobile phone and give it to somebody and say, I'm going to send you health messages, and think that's going to work, or that's going to cause them to change their behavior in terms of health. Or that initiative itself is going to last, beyond in terms of sustainability. There's a program that I'll describe much later, but mHealth always is part of both a technological ecosystem. And so if I take my mobile phone and I take it into a country and I put it in a system, it's going to have to integrate with the health information system that already exists in the country. It's going to have to integrate with whatever payment solutions that they have for insurance in that system, in that country. And it also has to fit in the processes of the country, the health system. So I can't give a phone to a nurse and say, start collecting data for me. There are a lot of work, there are very standard protocols that they follow. And so each time you start talking about mHealth, it's important to look beyond just the mobile phone and what it brings, and whatever the particular application of it is, and to look at the entire ecosystem in which it's supposed to work and supposed to play. And once you have a really good understanding of that ecosystem and how the mobile phone plays a role, or it's connected in that ecosystem, then you're on your way to actually coming up with a sustainable sort of mHealth solution. All right, so what is it really? mHealth basically also kind of speaks to the whole promise of mobile phones, which is you can reach anyone, anywhere, at any time. And the Permanent Secretary talked about this. You have clinics that are in very rural areas, and you have a nurse who sees a patient and knows there's something wrong but doesn't know what to do. Now, before mHealth, what they would have to do is just refer the person to the next clinic, hospital.
Financial inclusion, and as it was mentioned in the address read on behalf of the Deputy Governor of Operations, the lack of unique identifier. What we have done as regulators to bring into the financial services bracket most adult Nigerians is to have a stratified KYC arrangement. Before, it used to be very stringent in the sense that if you don't have a photo ID, you cannot even register as an account owner. But we stratified it such that we have level 1, level 2, level 3. And under level 1, all you need is just your phone number and your name. With that, you can register to open a mobile wallet. But we also know that the world is also looking at the issue of anti-money laundering and countering of financial terrorism and financing of terrorism. So that level 1, because of the low level identification, what we did was to place a limit on the transactions that can be conducted, and that is 30,000 naira a day, or 3,000 a single transaction, but cumulative of 30,000 a day. We believe that anyone who intends to do transactions higher than that should also be ready to upscale his identification to the next level, and of course to the next level, which is the highest, which is level 3. So if you have your number and your name, you can a customer can be enrolled to open a mobile wallet. And I'm sure when they try it at that level and the experience is enjoyable, permit me to use that word, they will not mind migrating to the next level. But we, Central Bank and the Bankers Committee, are not resting on their laurels in spite of the 3-tier KYC that has been done. Currently, a project is going on where biometrics will be used to capture customers, both existing customers and new customers. And once this issue of unique identifier is solved, it's going to help a lot.
All right, thank you so much. Is there any other pressing?
Maybe I start from something that's not related to health, and then I take it to health. A few months ago, when Facebook was publicly listed, certain projections were made, and then certain things happened, and the projections began to look very shaky. Some people started getting very jittery. But in the space of another few months, things have turned around, things have firmed up. Everybody is beginning to see what apparently that enfant terrible of the computer industry, Zuckerberg must have seen or anticipated, which is that the whole world is going mobile, and everything that was done previously using computer systems, using a whole lot of other things. The survival value of many ideas would rest on how they could translate or transfer to the mobile platform. The second thing was that the smartphone was going to become the phone, and phones were going to be used for purposes other than phoning. At very little additional cost. In reality, probably at no additional cost. All of that has happened. And it has played into the Nigerian reality. And the statistics that were given by the last speaker are actually very fascinating. It shows that there are getting to be just about as many phones as there are citizens in Nigeria. Of course, some people have 2 phones or 3 phones, but the largest number of people have only 1 phone each, so that we shouldn't overplay that in about a few well-heeled people having a large number of phones. The actual number, those numbers actually represent the penetration, and we shouldn't understate or undervalue the importance of that. Okay. That really means that the platform, beyond just having people speak with one another, there are inbuilt synergies and inbuilt possibilities which hadn't even been gleaned or been considered at all, and which can be used to address a lot of the gaps and problems that we have in our society. And what are those gaps and what are those problems? Very few of our people have, and I now go to the health perspective, very few of our people, an insufficiently large number of our people have access to good health care. That So a lot of that has to do with logistics, such as distance from the nearest health facility, the lack of knowledge about the existence of those health facilities, lack of the financial resources to access the health facility. But an important thing to stress is that even where the facilities were available, either because of the lack of knowledge about them or the absence of a prescribed financial access package, or the effort to provide things entirely free in an unsustainable way.